Sophie Cunningham is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, not only has she been great on the court for the Indiana Fever, but her personality is infectious and her energy has made her into a big star. Obviously, when she protected Caitlin Clark or served that enforcer role against JC Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun, that kind of really blew her up. I mean, she was already bubbling having come to the Indiana Fever, not to mention back when she was with the Mercury. But the best thing about Sophie is she's completely unfiltered, which is going to catch her a lot of hate. That comes with that territory. But it's also going to earn her a lot of respect from people who like the fact that she just says what's on her mind and isn't political about it, or isn't worried about hurting feelings or any of those sort of things, or maintaining the status quo in the WNBA. Now that helps for fans who get excited and really like that personality on a team. And it also helps when you're promoting your own podcast, like Sophie Cunningham now is on a weekly basis. A lot of players have podcasts nowadays. Aaliyah Boston has the one with Candace Parker, which seems to be doing really well. Sydney Colson, obviously another Fever player who has a podcast. I'm trying to, think of others, but obviously Sophie Cunningham is now in that category. And the latest episode of her podcast, she talked about two things that will both probably be clipped up and shared a bunch. One was the Paige Bueckers whistle. Yeah, that was discussed a lot in the Fever loss to the Wings. And there was the one play where Paige kind of shoved Sophie and Sophie got called for the foul. Now, Sophie has been upfront about how big a fan of Bueckers she is, but she also had this to say about the refs last night, which is sure to please some observers.
I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think she's a hell of a player and would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me. And if you're going to do that, then give it to our guards. I just hate the inconsistencies. Or we know she's a good rookie and she's going to get some whistles, but to get the treatment she got last night was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Calls.
Well, she's gonna be one of those players that she's already gonna be a GOAT. She's gonna be a Hall of Famer. Everyone knows that she's freaking hell of a player, but getting some of those whistles already. Oh my.
So Sophie was not happy with the whistles that Paige got, and that's been brought up. That's it's funny because that's a point brought up by fans on social media. So to see Sophie address it so publicly and bluntly, it was only going to add fuel to that sort of fire. And then, of course, it always comes in the context of the fact that Sophie Cunningham plays with Caitlin Clark, right? And not only that, what Stephanie White, the coach of the Fever, had to say about the team and the whistle that they get. The Fever have consistently said they've been on the wrong end of the officiating. So for Sophie Cunningham to say this about Paige Bueckers getting a special whistle, in a sense, to use the Angel Reese term from last year, the day after Stephanie White says there's a double standard to the way her team is officiated, on top of the fact that we know, Caitlin Clark has been grabbed and held on the perimeter, and that's been a topic of discussion. Her not getting the benefit of the official treatment there, it's only going to blow this whole thing up from here. And that was Sophie on that topic. There's also the DeWanna Bonner situation. The Fever just played the Mercury. Now, these are two losses that the Fever suffered. One to the Dallas Wings, another to the Phoenix Mercury. But Sophie Cunningham talked about DeWanna Bonner not being happy with her comments on her previous podcast, where she basically said that Bonner could have handled her exit from Indiana better. That it wasn't exactly the most professional way to go out. This was Sophie Cunningham on that topic right here.
There was maybe a little bit of beef because of our last podcast with how I mentioned that some people could handle
I wanted
situations.
To ask.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was because of what you said last week?
Hell yeah, 1,000%.
I saw that and was like, there's no way they're tussling and roughing each other up, because Sophie said you were polite for the most, you just said it could have been handled differently, but I was like, oh, they're just old teammates kind of roughing each other up. and it was like your old team, I was like, there's no way it's because of the podcast. But it sounds like it was.
Well, I do. I think that like our teams don't really like each other anyway, just because of like I don't know, just kind of like her leaving. Some of those players used to be under our coaching staff, and so there's just like a lot there. But
yeah,
I could have been way meaner, right? Like I told her like she didn't listen to the whole clip. She just saw the thing about like she could have handled it more professional, which like honestly, everyone that's talked to me besides their team has like, yeah, she could have. And so it's like, duh, but that team's just drama to me. I don't know, but I don't know. I went home and I started like hitting some threes. And, I was talking all shit. Oh god, it felt so good. I know we lost by 30, but I still got mine off.
So the Fever, like, I mean, if they didn't have a target on their back before, and Sophie Cunningham has referenced them having a target on their back, she is painting it there. The target came before with Caitlin Clark and just her popularity and the fact that she was the one everybody was talking about and discussing and everyone wanted to prove a point against or, had resentment for, or whatever the case may be in those various situations, or just was trying to shut down, right? But in this case, Sophie Cunningham adds fuel to that fire because she talks. And then on top of that, the good thing for her is she can back it up. So people aren't going to really probably challenge her too much, but they'll get away with what they can get away with, which we've seen. So I don't know if this helps or hurts the Fever. I would like to see Stephanie White's reaction in real time to these sort of comments. If she's like, yeah, go Sophie, or if she's like, oh, come on, I just tried to plead with the refs and now you're going to make it harder for us because we're, the most hated at this point in time. And that ain't going to change anything. But Sophie Cunningham has been a tremendous addition for the Fever this year, just on the court, forgetting all the talk stuff or any of the intangible stuff or the energy stuff. She's shooting the heck out of the basketball too. And that's been a huge deal for Indiana. She, I think she leads the WNBA in true shooting percentage. So she's also the best playmaker that they have in the absence of Caitlin Clark and Ari McDonald and everybody else that's hurt and down. So, she's going to shoot on the floor and she's going to shoot from the hip, I suppose you can say. And, every time she gets behind the mic now, she's sounding off. So we'll see if this has any ramifications for the Fever or just is good for engagement purposes, but it's good for content purposes. So thanks, Sophie.